Hello and welcome again to our next installment for the Gate and the Way to Life discussion. We've gone through 1 through 4 so far, ending with the gate on the last video. This time we are going to dive into a little bit more of the way. Again, here's our anchor verse. When Jesus is speaking of the way, the people, the listeners will be Jews, educated Jews in the Holy Scriptures, and when they think of the term way, they will be thinking on some of the verses that we are going to be looking at today. So we're going to tie the verses today to the wise and the foolish builders. I mentioned before that the anchor verse is not isolated, but is tied to the context verses around it. One of those was the building of the house on the rock, and one of those was building on the house on sand. And if you think back, we will remember that the wise builder was the one who listened to Jesus and also did it. So here we go. For the commandments are like a lamp, and instruction is like a light. So why do we need a lamp and why do we need a light? Because we are traveling down a road, and lo and behold, we have the commandments, and the instructions are a lamp and a light. Furthermore, the rebukes of discipline are like the road leading to life. So the context verse about the building on the rock is right here, tied to the anchor verse. We have listening to God and also acting on what he says. That is what it takes to be on the road leading to life. Again, in Psalms 119, your word is a lamp to walk by and a light to illumine my my path. So there we have it. God's instructions to us is what keeps us on the difficult road. Do not reprove a mocker, or he will hate you. Reprove a wise person, and he will love you. The mocker is the foolish person. So whether we are wise or foolish will depend upon how we react to the discipline of God. We saw that in the previous slide, where the rebuke of discipline is a road to life. And that is one of the big things about being on the difficult way. How do we know we are on the difficult way? Well, if we are accepting God's discipline and we are correcting our ways, then we have a good chance of being on the difficult way. If we listen to God, but then we say, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing, then we are more likely on the broad way leading to destruction. These verses are some that are in the Bible, but we would rather have them not. Notice that the starred or asterisked words are all from the Hebrew ana, which means suffer, afflict, humble, discipline in English. The first two verses are similar. Before I was afflicted, I used to stray off, but now I keep your instructions. It was good for me to suffer so that I might learn your statutes. The big issue here is that we as humans tend to only learn when we suffer. We have to learn the hard way. If we simply read the word or listen to the preacher's message or take advice from a friend, we can avoid affliction and suffering, but usually we have to learn the hard way. And so if we're paying attention and we keep track of what God is telling us and then we don't do it and then we suffer, hopefully we will begin to learn to follow instructions. 75 and 76, another tough portion of bread to chew down. I know, Lord, that your regulations are just. You disciplined me. Who likes discipline? Raise their hand, right? You disciplined me because of your faithful devotion to me. So why does God discipline us? Not because he hates us, not because he's mean, not because he doesn't like us, but because he is faithfully devoted to us. May your loyal love console me as you promised your servant. So there are four things that are coming together: discipline, faithful devotion, loyal love, consoling, and the promise. God promises to discipline us. If he is not disciplining us, then we are not his children. Simple as that. If you want to get on the narrow way, be prepared to be disciplined, be prepared to suffer. This is what makes the difficult way difficult. One, it's against our nature to bow our knee to what God has to say to us. And two, when we don't do what God tells us, somehow or another, suffering is the result. But God disciplines us because He's promised to discipline us. And He disciplines us because of His faithful devotion to us, and His loyal love consoles us. So you can imagine a parent comes by, disciplines his child, spanks the child, but wraps his or her arm around the child and say, I love you, and do better next time. So this is how this discipline goes down. Sometimes people don't like discipline and they react negatively. Now, my feet have followed His steps closely. I have kept to His way and have not turned aside. Now, Jesus is on the difficult way. He is not on the broad way, right? So if we want to follow Him, closely, then we have to be on the difficult way. Some people think that they are following Jesus while they are on the broad way. Well, the newsflash is simply that Jesus is not on the broad way. The Lord shows His faithful followers the way they should live. Now, notice that followers is preempted by faithful, right? So if you want to know how you should live, you need to be faithful. Faithful is shown to us in Job 23. You are faithful when you are following His steps closely. People that are unfaithful, they are not following closely or not following at all. And when you do this, you end up turning to the left or turning to the right off of the difficult way. So here we have our anchor verse again. So let's clean up. The fool, right, when he's disciplined, he gets upset and mad and runs away. The wise person gladly accepts discipline. And so depending upon whether one is a fool or one is wise, that will determine whether or not they are truly on the difficult way or on the broad way.